It's the Bush League Mud Show.
It's the Bush League Mud Show. Let's go.
Are you ready?
Make some noise!
Yeah, what is going on is another edition of the Bush League Mud Show. Slade
PJ.
It is episode 26, October 30th that we are coming at you. Actually, we're recording this like in the wee hours of the morning. Technically, it's the 29th. Well, I guess technically, no, it's the 30th because we start recording after midnight.
I suppose, but we'll just have a Halloween street or treat fight or just name it something different.
They just couldn't help it, could they?
Well, because
they take an idea and they beat it into the ground. We'll jump on that.
We'll get in it, but I know why they did it, why one named it one way, and because they knew the other one was naming it that way. So, yeah.
Coming at you Halloween weekend. So happy Halloween if you are into it. It's one of my favorites out of the year.
Did you ever go as a wrestling guy?
We couldn't afford those kind of costumes.
Okay.
I think I did want to do the Macho Man Randy Savage one year, but the tassels was the most expensive part,
Yes.
and my grandma said, well, I can make them for you, and I was like, no, I'm good. Looking back, I should have took her up on that offer because she was really good at arts and crafts.
In my early 20s, this is probably the best costume I ever had.
20s.
Early 20s. I went as Ric Flair down on State Street in Madison. And my mom helped me glitter up the robe, so we did that. I had a friend's girlfriend buy me the pregnancy panties that I wore for the red underwear. And did Ric Flair State Street and got into an impromptu match with the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh, no.
There was a warrior guy.
That was in your group or someone completely?
Someone we were just walking.
And
we
you
were
guys
having a good
showed
time.
each other mutual respect
Yes.
and said, let's do this
Let's
thing.
do this right on State Street. We did it. I took a bump on the ground like Rick would do.
Yeah.
We had a good one. We got a 1, 2, 3 from somebody passing by, and we got up, and then we started drinking beers and having a good time.
Oh, I was gonna say, did you guys get up and hit one of the food trucks? Usually, there was one food truck, and I'll tell you, the last time I actually got dressed up and went all out for Halloween and went to a costume, it was State Street, Madison. Afterwards, there was like this fresh fish truck. You get like these catfish sandwiches.
Okay.
There was a food truck.
Yeah.
And that was my favorite part of going out in Madison.
Well, it was an
the
infamous
food trucks at 2 in the morning.
It was an infamous night, though, for UW football because one of their starting running backs got stabbed that night.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The Jonathan Davis night.
Yes.
Because all of a sudden we lost.
You were there.
Well, we were on State Street, but then all of a sudden we heard all this shit going on, and there was some riots and other crap going on, and then we lost a friend of ours, and then we met up with him in the wee hours of the morning. He's like, yeah, I was in a parking ramp. I'm like, oh, well, sorry, Sam.
State Street Madison stories for you.
Yes.
Bush League Mud Show. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And hit us up, like us. We follow. We promise we will follow back on social media at Bush League MS Pod. Some of the things we're going to get into. We're recording this in the wee hours of Saturday morning, so we're coming fresh off WWE SmackDown. They had to alter. Because of the World Series with Game 3, they had to alter their programming, go over to FS1 and AEW Rampage review. We're going to give you some quick not blazing lightning quick. We're going to give you some rundowns of what happened on those shows. We're also going to go through WWE SmackDown ring announcer Greg Hamilton losing his job over this past week. We'll get into the details that came out as to maybe why he lost his job. We'll jump into the initiative by Vinnie Mac for shorter referees. UK fans are scheduled to be getting a treat when it comes to Walter and Cesaro. We'll get into that. Martinez. She talked about her issues with the Retribution angle, and can't wait to get into this. Update on Hacksaw Jim Duggan and more. First off, we start, though, with Ring of Honor. If you listen to our last episode, we did a WWE, we did both it was our Dynamite review from the other night. We talked about Ring of Honor with the unfortunate, sad news that they are, at the end of the year, they're going to be releasing all talent from their contracts with the hopes that they can start back up in the spring. We gave our thoughts about that. That's our very last episode, the AEW Dynamite review from October 27th. But we talked about how we just feel that Sinclair just wants to get out of the wrestling business because if you're looking to re-image this, PJ, you wouldn't just release every single one of your talent because who are you going to replace them with to be ready to go by April? They've got a Final Battle pay-per-view that's going to be coming the middle of December, which is going to be their final pay-per-view for the time being. And Realistically, I don't think they're going to be back. We could talk about that a little bit more, I guess, if you want, because there's more news that came out actually on Friday as it pertains to Ring of Honor.
Yeah, and again, like we said, this whole thing, when I first heard the idea, we both flashed back to WCW. When Turner said, well, we're done with this, then you heard the reports of Bischoff trying to get it started. It looked like he had a deal, but then they had no network to put this sort of wrestling on. Yeah. And now here, the same kind of deal, TV company, you're not if someone were to come and buy this, you don't have anywhere to put it on right now. You would have to find that contract. So that's a tough thing. And like you said, if you are going to keep this going and come back in the spring, you wouldn't release the roster you have. You have some good pieces on this thing to keep it going and some stars that people would buy into, but now just clearing house, there's no way they're going to come back next year.
Yeah, the latest news out of Ring of Honor, it was revealed by Justin Barrasso of Sports Illustrated at the Ring of Honor video library, and we talked about this. What about the library? Where is it going to go? Yep. Who's going to be lining up to try to get that? Well, Ring of Honor, apparently, with their video library, it's currently available to the highest bidder.
Of course.
Barrasso also noted the library, and this we did not know. Well, maybe some did. I definitely did not know. Apparently, this library has been available and up for sale for over a year now.
Oh, really? They're keeping it a little quiet.
Yeah, All Elite Wrestling, of course, could be interested because the library contains a lot of their current stars. Plus, there is footage, if you remember the All In event from 2018, which was the precursor to All Elite Wrestling. That was under Ring of Honor. AEW, according to the report, they hold the rights to the name, but they never got the rights to the content from that event. So that event is a part of Ring of Honor's library. And also, according to a report by Justin Barrasso, Ring of Honor is asking for much more than the current market dictates, which is probably why the library has been delayed in terms of being purchased.
You just threw that at me. I didn't know the first one was actually their property. So now, when you first talked about this the other day, you're like, AEW, and I thought, well, no way, WWE is going to want more of this. But now knowing that fact, yeah, they're definitely want to get control of that because they own
Vince
it.
Got spoiled by the WCW tape library and said, Ring of Honor, they're probably asking for more. Vince said, but the Turner library was really worth more. I ain't paying that shit.
I ain't paying $8 million or whatever the hell it would be up to. I mean, how much do you think this is going to get up to? Because if you think about that was the all-time steal, that $2 million. We've heard the Chris Jericho story said, if I knew that, I would have paid $2 million just for that damn library. Sports right fees and everything, they're through the roof. I just wonder who the hell could place the valuation on this kind of content in library. And I'm trying to think of some of the recent ones that WWE has bought. Was it Evolve when they were going out or something like that? I thought they put a price on there, but they never disclosed, obviously, how much. And, of course, we never knew the WCW thing until way later when the documents were released of that sale of the AOL merger and everything, where they're like, oh, shit, wow, look at that. So, I mean, I'm kind of intrigued on how much this could actually fetch.
I do think at the end of the day, I do think Vince McMahon would be willing to pay way more than Tony Khan, because you're adding more of a library to Peacock and the WWE Network, which, when the contract comes up to renew, or you want to license that network to another streaming service, because I feel like the WWE Network, as we knew it for the 5 years previously, that's over.
That's done.
Now that they know they can get $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion, wherever, to license that library, this is the way they're going to go to continue to make money. And this will only just add more value, content-wise and dollar-wise, to the network.
That's going to be strange, though, if they're going to be bounced around every 5 years to a different platform. How the hell do you... Because then all the time and the scrubbing, as we heard, and all this other I mean, that's a whole hell of a lot of mess.
I don't think they give a damn anymore. Would you?
Well, I guess for $1 billion,
if someone's willing to pay it, like, okay, it's your problem now. You work it out.
I guess, but you still got to make sure the shit works. I mean, it is amazing. And I wonder, too, if Peacock will chip in some, too, because they're like, oh, yeah, we don't want it going on HBO Max, or we don't want them having that, so we'll help you out with that too. So, I mean, this could be, like you said, Vince might want to buy this up. Obviously, a lot of his current guys on there, big stars that, I don't know how Vince's ego is. Usually he's like, well, I didn't make them, so he tries to hide that under the carpet, but we've seen weird things, too, when Angle was going into the Hall of Fame and all of a sudden TNA clips were popping up.
Dixie Carter showing up for interviews.
What the hell's this? Yeah, so, I mean, he seems to go wherever the wind blows on that day with who he includes or what he wants you to remember or not remember.
Yeah. WWE, they released SmackDown ring announcer Greg Hamilton earlier this week, and it appears that the reason of his release has come to light. Now, Hamilton, he went on social media and he was begging people to not read into whatever narrative is being pushed out there. Mm-hmm. He'd been with the company for about 6 years. From what I understand, he was also an announcer for the NBA for the Orlando Magic. And he'd also done some TV stuff here and there.
I liked the guy. I loved his
I enjoyed
his
him.
Stuff.
And I do remember he did a really sweet, he was on social media sometime, I want to say last year, he had proposed, so he's engaged. I don't know if he officially tied the knot with at the time, his fiance. But anyways, he was unfortunately released. And it came 2 days after Hamilton had threatened to sue rapper Westside Gunn with WWE lawyers for sampling his voice in a Westside Gunn track. Now, Westside Gunn has, if you're not aware of him, he is a rapper, loves wrestling, loves WWE, has always been very supportive of the company and his music. And it was using Hamilton's voice in a track, I guess, as a sample, was just paying more homage to that. Hamilton wasn't cool with that. He wrote on Instagram in a post that he ended up deleting, dude. He said, and I quote, "Well, Westside Gunn, let's hope that since you stole my voice for your incoherent kindergarten fables, that you saved up enough delivering for DoorDash, because you are fucked. You'll be paying me for years. Apologize, and I'll think about not collecting every dime for the rest of your life. Or I could just get WWE lawyers. That's okay, too. Settle with my lawyer and don't ever use my voice again. So wrong," end quote. He ended up deleting the post, but then continued to make additional comments and threats about the WWE legal team. And with the timing, a lot of people believe that this, was the reason, or at least a large part why, because Hamilton's also said, gone off and talked reckless on social media before. So maybe this was a situation where it was like the last straw for the company. Yeah. And so, I mean, look, man, this is one of those things. I guess he decided he was going to talk tough, and then he was going to run behind the lawyers, that the company would have his back. And I think the company said, no, you don't speak for us.
You're on your own on this one. We're all right with using your shit, because obviously they want it out there. They want it in everything. So, I mean,
this is the same company, and I would have laughed if they would have taken Westside Gunn to court, being that we were making all this effort to try to attract new age fans to the product. We go to Rolling Loud in Miami, and we've got Hit Row on the roster now, and we're trying to incorporate more of a hip hop influence with the product. And Greg, that was well, the
Ric Flair drip was going on when he was under contract with WWE. So I mean, there was that too, and of course, Bad Bunny with everything he did with Booker T. So I'm sure, you're right on with that. They probably said, no problem with that.
No. We go from the firing process to the hiring process of the company. This is a report that came out earlier in the week in regards to WWE and their referees. It was noted earlier in the week from Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. There's now a new directive in WWE through Vince McMahon to hire shorter referees.
Yeah, I guess.
The reason being is because Vince wants the taller talent to stand out and being bigger than life. And I will give my take in a little bit. It's just a little small take. But this is in line, the overall directive for NXT. Vince, wants to put more focus on hiring wrestlers that, as he puts it, he wants bigger than life professional wrestlers. He wants to go back to guys and to a degree, gals who can walk through airports and command direct attention. And he feels that if everyone's short and around the same size, apparently on the main roster, and you've got referees in the ring that they've got to work around looking around the same size, his guys and gals don't look credible. So he is looking for people that stand out that could someday headline WrestleMania. And we're kind of seeing that, right? NXT with Braun Breaker.
Yep.
Gable Steveson, that's someone that, they're bending over backwards for him. We've got a ring. He's got his own setup at the University of Minnesota on the campus.
But even like Omos and the Giants like that, you want to make them look even bigger than that. You put a 5'4" guy in there as the ref.
Yeah. So this is a directive that has fallen in line with previous directives about the backstage interviews. This was something Jonathan Coachman about a month or so ago talked about how Vince doesn't like his backstage interview. He just does not. Coachman talked about how they work out together. Vince didn't like the fact that Coachman was bigger than him.
Yeah.
Now, maybe not as muscular, but in terms of height and all of that, he was not for that. His announcers being big. He wants that small world for his talent that doesn't actually work in the ring.
And for the refs, too, now, he doesn't even want you to mention the damn name. So, it's like he said, just emasculated the refs. He can't be anything. And now this quote of, you got to be this height or smaller to ride the WWE ring because you can't be any taller than that.
Now, typically, the interviewers are already shorter than the wrestlers.
Yes.
Now, there's also a report, and I guess, I could see this happening. Apparently, they will sometimes have their interviewers, according to the report, at times bend their legs or spread apart in order to look shorter than a wrestler. Could you see Vince saying that? Hey, pal, need you to squat down a bit.
Who would he would only be saying that to Kevin Patrick, right?
Okay, you got Patrick.
He's the only male one back.
Think about your females, though. Your Zelina Vega's.
Yeah,
she's
but
not that tall. So if Caleb Braxton is interviewing Zelina Vega, maybe you would have to spread them apart because they're about the same height, aren't they?
I guess, yeah. Who's the blonde one? I think she's a little taller.
Okay.
I can't remember her name. But, I think, I could see that. That's just strange, though. But that's why they always shoot. If you notice, they never shoot from, like, the knee down. It's always up, so you don't see it.
So basically, Vince doesn't give a fuck about the in-ring skill anymore.
Nope,
he wants to go back to the 80s and 90s of the comic book superheroes.
So now you were going to say you're going to have a take about the tall ref thing. So what is that? Is that just the old school where the ref should not be taller than the in-ring performer? Because there have been some examples of that. Nick Patrick was a tall guy. When he was in there, Mike Chioda, I think, was also pretty tall ref as well. So,
I think from what I understand, they also announced their refs being shorter than what they really are as well. Yeah. I think Charles Robinson's, I think he's good solid 5'8", 5'9", but they announced him at 5'6".
Yes.
Or they list him as 5'6".
Yeah.
And then there are others that I believe they also list shorter than what they actually are. I guess my take, I really don't have, I guess if it is a take, for me it's all about visual.
Okay.
And if you've got a bunch of cruiserweights in the ring and you've got a ref that is bigger than the cruiserweights and looks, and the other thing I think for me, I don't want my refs to be too fit. Okay. If they look cut, then why are they not wrestlers?
Well, because they got to be an enforcer. Don't you see all the kendo sticks and shit around now?
The only ref, in my opinion, that actually had credibility to be a big badass enforcer as a ref was Ken Shamrock. WrestleMania 13, the I Quit match.
Well, he was an enforcer. He was the special enforcer.
It's Ken. That's the only the last true credible ref because Nick Patrick ended up being dirty. He was NWO for life.
Yep.
Lil Nate, he was biased.
Yep. Earl Hebner, though, remember he would get pissed off and he'd shove him down?
Yes.
And then guys would have to bump for that? Yeah. That was hilarious.
So I guess for just a visual standpoint, I like to see my refs. I like old school half-ball, jerry-curled Teddy Long from back in the day.
Okay.
I like my refs to be very squeaky geeky. They've got the credibility they have is because they have the uniform on, but they don't look like in a match that they could whip up on the wrestlers.
Yes.
And right now, I will say, with how the business has been over the last 10 to 12 years, you got a lot more of the smaller guys that have been on top, not just WWE, but other promotions all around. So we see a lot of indie videos, or at least I do, where the refs are bigger than the talent in the ring.
But the indie refs, and I'm seeing AEW refs, they do the goddamn reaction thing that just drives me nuts. The whole reaction bump when they throw their hands in the air when the big bump happens, and that's another thing that drives. As we're getting on this ref tirade here, that thing is getting more and more under my skin, and I'm seeing it on AEW a lot. And it's like, don't do that. You're the ref. You're supposed to not react to that kind of shit. And it's like every match, all of a sudden they get their arms flailing in the air and they do that damn bump thing. It's just like, stop it.
Yeah, as a ref, you're not too, it's supposed to be about the talent in the ring.
Yes.
And every now and then, if you want to play it into an angle, I don't mind having a ref having a little bit of a spotlight as long as it's playing into an angle. But I don't need a match where the ref is trying to go into business for themselves and trying to get their shit in, as Brian Cage would say, trying to get my shit in. Like, it's just call a match. But the refs right now, I mean, we've done a disservice to the refs because we do all these stupid fucking stipulations for matches now.
Yeah.
Like, why would you need a ref for a particular
for anything.
type for Hell in a Cell, like why or
you
a
don't
steel cage match?
Yeah.
You wouldn't need a
You're
ref.
not supposed
for that.
to. Yeah.
For what?
Yep.
If the goal is to climb the fuck out of the cage, why would you need a ref for that match? Like, it should be whatever. It's a duel to the finish. It's a matter of you do whatever you want. Everything should be legal. The goal is to get out of the cage. But anyways, enough with that with the refs. For the WWE, they released their schedule for their touring, and it looks like they're, people that have been wanting to see these quote-unquote dream matches that revolve around Walter. They're at least going to get one of them. With him and Cesaro, it looks like there's going to be a November house show in the UK, 4 dates, and they're going to be Liverpool, Leeds, Nottingham, and Manchester. That's going to be going on between November 7th through the 10th, and it looks like Walter's going to be returning to action first time since August. I didn't realize he's been out of action since August. That was NXT TakeOver 36. He dropped the UK Championship to Ilya Dragunov. Well, these UK tour dates has him facing Cesaro.
Okay.
So they're going to be working together, and it looks like Walter's not in a hurry by any means to be in the States or be on the main roster or anything like that. He's cool, at least with the old structured NXT. He was cool making his occasional appearances, being with Imperium. They were still, when he was not here in the States, they were incorporating him. They give Imperium a segment and still kind of reference him or whatever. This is about as close right now as you'll be seeing Walter to the main roster. He's going to stay over in the UK, and he'll be able to work Cesaro, who's a good worker.
Yeah.
And people like Cesaro. Cesaro will instantly be the baby face in those matches, and hopefully we'll see some video that'll be leaked in terms of those guys working one another. Just kind of I'm more curious about the interaction with the crowd as they go at it. So,
well, is this a Vince test where he wants to see how he works with one of his main roster guys and see where he is if he wants to pull the trigger and bring him up? And like you said, Walter's in no rush to be on every week's SmackDown and everything like that. But is it a Vince test where he's like, okay, I'm going to throw one of our very solid main roster guys on it? Because I don't know if he's had really any dark matches with any other main talent. It's always been NXT UK or maybe NXT guys, but no one that's ever been on the main 2 rosters. So is this a Vince test where he's like, I want to know how he reacts to this?
Well, I think this is also, I'm not, I think anytime you've got non-main roster talent on a card working main roster talent, I think it's always an audition to a degree. But I think this is also, hey, we're in the UK. We need relatable people who are from here. And look, Vince, for all we know, may have just found out last week that he actually has an NXT UK. So he probably said, hey, who's top guy? Okay, Walter.
Yeah,
all right,
who's this
fine.
Walter guy?
Book him. You know, you need that influence. And I think if you would have came through the UK and not incorporate any NXT UK talent on that card, you know, and not working each other, no, give them a few of the main roster people. This is also going to be a tour where Roman Reigns is not going to be a part of it.
Okay.
The Usos are not going to be part of it. You're going to be missing certain elements that are getting prime time positioning on WWE programming here in the States. They're not going to be on that tour. And I think you fix a craving for some of the fans that want to see these kind of matches. I think it wouldn't matter. It could have been Walter versus Seth Rollins, Walter versus, I don't know, Montez Ford. It could have been Walter versus anybody that you have not seen him against, and I think the crowd will it will be a selling point for the fans in the UK. It's a fresh matchup. We haven't seen it before. Yeah. And Cesaro's a guy. He's a veteran. If he's losing all these matches in that 4-day span, it's not going to hurt Cesaro.
No.
He's a guy. He's a made guy. Has he been world champ? No. But he's a guy that is a good worker, and he's likable, and he's got plenty of credibility. And it's someone that will be able to also take punishment from Walter in that match, too, and dish it right back.
Going to have to take those chops. I mean, that's the thing with that one. So he's going to prepare the chest and get the old rub ready for that.
Mercedes Martinez, you remember her, right?
I think.
Mercedes Martinez. She unfortunately got released by the company earlier in the year. Now, if you remember Mercedes Martinez, she was part of the NXT roster. She got incorporated in some pretty important storylines, mainly with Rhea Ripley on her way out before coming to the main roster, sort of here and there as a part of Retribution. New interview, she was a part of the Bell to Bells podcast, and she opened up about the highs and lows of her time working with the company, and she gave us the good stuff. She went a little bit in-depth, or a lot in-depth, with how the Retribution stable, how it came about.
Okay.
And if it came across like they threw this thing together and maybe there was a lack of communication, if it came across that way on television, that's because it probably fucking did, at least through the eyes of Mercedes Martinez. She talked about it. She said, quote, "To be honest, the Retribution pitch was not pitched to me." Well, if we want to get real, because I'm a straight shooter and always have been and don't like to beat around the bush here, it was a concept of maybe they wanted me as part of this Retribution. It was, you know, how everyone was kind of going in. They had all the extras when it was a big mob of everyone under hoods.
Yes.
You know, that whole big thing. She went on to say, quote, "When they were finally trying to figure out the core group, I was still fresh off the storyline with Rhea Ripley. We just came off a cage match, and, you know, I said, I can't do anything with Retribution because I don't know anything about it."
Yeah.
She said, "I don't know what the concept is. I wanted more info for my deal." And she said, "I want to make sure that if I was going to be a part of this stable, I wanted to be sure that morally, for me and mentally, this is something I wanted to be behind. Is this going to affect me in my career? Is this going to affect my legacy? Is this going to affect my life personally?" Yeah, it was just like, you just made it to WWE. Like, this is your opportunity to be on the main roster. But is it the right opportunity to be on the main roster was the question that was in the back of my head. And she said that it was a decision that I made right on the spot because I felt it was a decision that had to be made right then and there. So they positioned it that way. They just hit her on the spot with this. She said, so when they revealed us as Retribution, that first time they revealed us on camera on Raw where Mia cut her promo, Mia Yim that is, that was pretty much my last day. I was pretty much like, I can't do this. They wanted to change names, which is fine. You can change your name, but I wanted to. My thing was communication. Communication was a big thing for me where they didn't communicate with me. They didn't communicate on what the group was all about. They didn't communicate the name changes until we were revealed, and the gear, the mask, everything was just communication. I'm a big communication person where I want to be prepared for my job. I want to know what's going on. She also talked about another issue with her role in Retribution was the detail that she had to constantly wear a face mask as this new character. Martinez, she went on to explain that she has asthma.
Okay, yeah.
So it was too much of a health hazard for her to be working with this fucking Retribution mask on. So there you go. If you're wondering, if you're curious how this Retribution thing came about, and look, they tried to take advantage. Let's just call it what it is.
Yes.
What was going on in 2020 around that time?
Yes.
They were trying to get in.
Yeah, they were.
They were trying to get in on that. They were trying to be relevant.
Yes.
Never mind the fact we wouldn't even acknowledge this COVID thing throughout the year.
Yeah.
We just went on business as usual. Everybody else acknowledged for what it was, not Vince, pal. It ain't going to beat me. So we didn't want to acknowledge that, but we would acknowledge the political shit that was going on in the world, in the country.
Yeah.
And
this isn't an Antifa group. No. Yeah, I mean, that's what it was.
That's what it was.
What it was trying to be, but
and they died a quick death.
They did, and like you said, how can you? She's right on. Anyone, put yourself in your shoes. You go to work, you go wherever. Yeah, you want a little communication. What is expected of me? What do you want me to do? And what the hell am I doing with this role? And
now that you've told me what my role is and what I'm doing, what did I do to deserve this shit?
It sounds like they just saw 8 guys at the Performance Center. 8 guys, couple girls. That's a group right there. All right. You guys know how to use a chainsaw? All right. Well, let's cut some ropes.
Vince size.
Yes.
Dijakovic. Madden.
Yes.
I mean, these.
Yeah, they had the big guns.
Martinez is very imposing, you know, in terms of the female side. She's not a small gal compared to their main roster and a lot of the NXT females on the roster. Yeah. So they had that main look. They had that look, but it's like we couldn't figure out anything better. Had we not have gone the Retribution route, and with NXT being what it is now, with the 2.0, the rebranding and what they're trying to push and the new initiative and this and that, had you not have done Retribution and you needed new talent on the main roster, people who are fitting what it is that you want the size. You said you don't want the indie small people, the midgets as they call them, whatever.
Yeah.
These are people that you could have had right now on the main roster unscathed from the fucking Retribution shit. And now you have it. They're still going by TBar Mace on the main roster. Yeah. They're still the silly-ass face paint. So even though Retribution is no longer with Madden and Dijakovic, we still have them on the main roster wearing shades of Retribution.
Yes. And Dijakovic still got the damn music. And again, that guy was one of the biggest baby faces in NXT. And now you're shitting on him more, and he's the one who got the Retribution music. He still has the theme coming out to it. Yeah, in TBar, I mean, Mace, I mean, Madden, Dio Madden, basically. That's a guy, too. I mean, he went back. He seems to be doing all right, but at NXT level right now,
they seem to be
could have been huge.
Very confused on what to do with him.
Yes, they
know that they want him.
Yeah.
They see something in him.
Yeah.
They're just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Remember, we went from him, he was at the NXT level, and then they
announcer,
and then they made him an announcer.
Yeah,
they called him on the Raw a couple of years ago for the season premiere.
Yes,
with Vic Joseph. That didn't last long.
No,
sent him back down to developmental. Brought him up for the Raw Underground.
Yes,
and he lost.
Yeah, I don't think
losing in Raw Underground.
I don't recall him on any NXT matches.
Comes back for Retribution. Yes, I couldn't tell you a match that he had. Not saying that he didn't have any, but I never watched. Bill Goldberg, FYI, just in case you were not aware.
He's not in jail for murder.
Well, he's not in jail for murder, and he has just one match left on his contract.
Oh.
Yeah.
Will they try to use that up this year?
And the contract was revealed, from what I understand, when he signed the contract earlier this year.
Oh, he signed it earlier this year.
This is a contract,
six match one.
Well, this is a contract apparently runs through 2023. It called for 2 matches a year. But then Goldberg, he lost to McIntyre at the Rumble. And then he took another loss to Lashley at SummerSlam.
Yep. And now the Saudi show.
And then the Saudi show, so that's 3.
Which you think that's the reason why they re-signed him is the Saudi show, because now they're still stuck in the 90s wrestling, and he's still huge over there now.
It looks like the company rearranged the contract, and they're using one of the two 2022 matches for Crown Jewel, which pretty much is what happened. So they made some adjustments there. So he's saying he still feels like he can go. He's 55 now. And again, they just can't help themselves. They can't. This is what happens when you're adding more time to Raw and you're making it 3 hours.
Yes.
And you're making all these commitments to the one pay-per-view a year. And you're making these commitments with the Saudis to do a show.
Yes. Yep.
And you're doing these big, and you need attractions. The Goldberg thing, that died quickly too. It started off great. Yeah. We hadn't seen Bill Goldberg in years in the ring, and what made that thing so special was that he still looked the part. Didn't matter how old he was.
Yeah.
I didn't even, besides the fact, he had a few grays, but he still looked like Goldberg.
Yeah.
And that worked. That whole thing with Lesnar, that was money.
It was.
The crowd ate it up. It was great.
And him winning, it was the shock of it all.
And
how
way
he made
it went down, it was typical. It was vintage Goldberg fashion.
Yeah.
Quick work. Spears, jackhammer, 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Big pop. It's like, fuck, for those that maybe didn't see Goldberg during the Attitude Era, fuck, that's what this Goldberg shit was about. That's badass.
Yeah.
We just couldn't leave it there. Now, we knew eventually we were going to get a Mania match where he was going to give that belt back to Lesnar.
Yes.
Okay, right off to the sunset. We couldn't just let it be, though.
And that's been, 5 years now?
About 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years we've been on that cycle now.
And it's, we just brought him back. And at times, unnecessary feuds or matches. We didn't need Goldberg-Undertaker.
No.
We didn't need it.
No.
That ship had sailed. We didn't need it. We didn't need a SummerSlam match of Goldberg and Dolph Ziggler. You couldn't find a better way.
That's right. I almost forgot about that.
Goldberg, because we were really going to believe that Dolph Ziggler had a chance. Well, the only other one that they really could have done something with, and I think it would have only worked had it not been for the pandemic, you would have had live crowds. I think people would have been fine with the Reigns-Goldberg match for Mania.
Maybe. Well, yeah, the way his character was turning, he wasn't yet heel before that.
I think you could have used it as a kickoff for Roman becoming the heel.
Yeah. But again, that whole thing got screwed up because of the whole Wyatt thing, where he should have never gone over the Fiend.
Yes.
But they booked it that way, and you knew he was going to win because it was in another Saudi Arabia show, and there was no way they were going to have him lose there. So they kind of booked themselves in the corner with that. And then again, from the report I heard, is Goldberg said, well, the superhero's got to win this one. And Vince said, well, I agree with you. And I think that kind of screwed up the card for that whole Mania.
Recent interview, he's also thrown out the possibility of teaming up with his son, Gage. He wants maybe a match with him and his son versus Ray and his son, Dominic. Goldberg, we don't need to see that. We don't want to see it.
No,
respectfully,
yeah. Goldberg, you're not a tag team guy. I can't remember the last tag team match he may have actually been in. It had to be WCW days. I mean, no, we don't want it.
Now, last week we gave you a story, unfortunate news about Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He had been admitted into a hospital, emergency surgery. We found out what that was all about. It wasn't initially released. It turned out that Hacksaw Jim Duggan had been diagnosed with prostate cancer. And he ended up undergoing successful, as they said, prostate cancer surgery. That would have been, this is from Mark Middleton. So this is from WrestlingHeadlines.com, Mark Middleton. This was released yesterday. So Duggan underwent what said successful prostate cancer surgery. And so his wife went on social media and said that he was doing well and he was recovering just fine, and the thoughts and prayers, good vibes, well wishes to Duggan and his family. So there you go. I mean, not to really dig into that again. It's just an update, really, on Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Just really sucks. The prostate cancer. We talked about it before. He's had some health issues in the past. And there was even talks that he had dropped around 40 or 50 pounds because of some being hospitalized and all that. So, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, man, a tough guy.
Yes.
That was part of his spiel. Hey, tough guy. He is a tough guy with things that have all the way back from the kidney cancer as well, back in the late 90s when he was with WCW. So this is unfortunately nothing new for Duggan. He's dealt with some adversity health-wise, so this is seems like another roadblock for him that, if he's been able to get over the hump with a lot of these things. I don't, it just sucks, man. It really, especially a likable guy like Jim Duggan.
Yes, so we wish him all the best and get better.
All right, WWE SmackDown. This was for October 29th, so last night. This was in I want to say the Connecticut Sun?
Yep.
The Connecticut WNBA team, is that still around, or did they shut it down? I thought they folded.
I thought they folded.
This is the arena they used to play in, the Mohegan Sun Arena in Connecticut. And this was headlined by, wasn't really going to be
much.
It really wasn't going to be anything. We got a main event match that ended up being the Usos versus the New Day, but it was also built around Shinsuke Nakamura, who, don't know if you still remember, he is the Intercontinental Champion.
That's right.
He was going to be teaming up with Rick Boogs to face Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss in a Halloween-inspired Trick or Street fight.
Trick or Street.
Now, we just had on NXT 2.0 Wednesday night.
Yes.
We had a Trick or Street fight, right? Mandy Rose and Gonzalez, or what they call that, it wasn't Trick or Treat, it was Trick or Street,
I think.
Yes, it was a Trick or Street. Yeah. So we had just done this on Wednesday, or Tuesday.
But AEW is naming theirs Trick or Treat Street Fight with Abaddon and Britt.
Too much tricking going on these shows.
So they can't name it Trick or Treat, so they had to go clever with Trick or Street Fight.
Yeah, so it was just, again,
someone's getting punched in the face with a damn pumpkin. That's basically what it is. Vince's excuse to try to get food items in a match.
This was a show. They had to move it from Fox to FS1 because of the World Series that is gaining, for obvious reasons. It was going to get bigger priority. Braves and the Astros. It's, the biggest, the Super Bowl of Major League Baseball. Yeah. And so they had to move it over to FS1. There was really nothing much to promote to hype up this show.
No. I was, though, surprised with the leadoff segment because you were reading all these reports throughout the week. They're hiding her. Or she's not backstage. She's still pissed at the company.
With
There's
Charlotte
some
Flair.
heat. She's not showing up. Or she's asking for her release of her contract. So you heard all that going on throughout the week, and all of a sudden, that's the first thing out of the gate. So you're like, oh, okay, well, let's see how this goes.
Yeah. There was a brand new video intro package, too, to kick off this SmackDown. It kicked off with Charlotte Flair. She made her entrance, kick off the show, and put herself over about being the face of the company once again, and that nobody compares to her. She said the winning the title is just another Friday. And she winked into the camera. Sasha Banks ended up interrupting midway through the promo, and then she came down, and her and Charlotte kind of went back and forth. And Sasha says that Charlotte, not the leader, and holds the rest of the locker room down. And Sasha basically promoting that she wants a title shot for the SmackDown Women's title, but Charlotte said that someone new deserves the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And that was when we heard the music and saw Tank coming down the ramp. Shotzi Blackheart. Or we're not even calling her Blackheart anymore.
Shotzi.
We're just calling her just Shotzi.
Yep.
Yeah, she made her way down to the ring in the tank, and again, the crowd just can't, the main roster crowd just can't get behind that damn tank.
No.
Which makes me wonder if she was ever really over with that tank in NXT.
I don't think so, because again, you're dealing with a smaller crowd, and Then COVID hit. So, I mean, I don't think she was.
Yeah, she made her way out with the tank and accepted Charlotte's offer as the fans then start chanting Shotzi because we were going to get a fresh matchup.
Yeah, it was exciting for that.
I think that was the only reason why she got a pop in her name being chanted, because it would be, for once, a fresh matchup, and we're not seeing Charlotte and Sasha.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was refreshing to see. Oh, okay, well, they're going to go at it. I'm going to watch this. And, I turned around and I stuck with it.
Yeah, Charlotte was cool with it and said, not only will you get your match, you'll get it right now. So they kicked off SmackDown with that. It's a pretty competitive match for the most part, and I thought, I will say Charlotte, her work rate, she is, if you throw Nia Jax out of the picture, I mean, she will actually take those chances and will work with unfamiliar talent and try to do the best she can. I thought the match was solid for what it was. I wasn't expecting to be this good. Shotzi came off looking like a strong contender on the SmackDown roster. They didn't have her looking weak at all. She got a lot of time to show off her ability. Got a couple of near falls in terms of almost upsetting the champ, but then Charlotte was able to pick up the victory using the natural selection move. This was after Sasha Banks, who was at ringside the entire time during this match. She got on the apron, and that distracted both Shotzi and Charlotte. And Shotzi, for the most part, took Charlotte to the limit here, and a great showing for both. After the match, though, an angry Shotzi, she ended up blaming Sasha Banks for the defeat. And then she took it out and attacked the boss.
Yep, and you said this was coming.
And that turned her heel. We talked about this at the company. Wanted to turn Shotzi heel. And even though technically Sasha's supposed to be a heel, people like Sasha Banks.
Yes.
So Shotzi attacking Sasha, that completed the heel turn that they want you to buy in, and she got the boos.
Yeah,
whether
she did
they
a
were
good
piped
job.
in or not, they've already let you know what they want to do.
Yeah.
And this is a beatdown. It wasn't a quick,
quick
hit. It went down. It went on for a while, and even that Shotzi even threw Banks into the tank outside the ring, and then she started howling as she was beating her ass as the fans were booing. So I would say, in terms of making Shotzi look like somebody, and having impact from the get-go, I think they at least did a good job at that.
I did, and two, for this series, I'm intrigued. Sasha and Shotzi going at it.
Yes.
It's a break from Charlotte.
It's something fresh. It's a feud that doesn't have to be about the title.
Correct. You can build her up that way, and at first, I didn't like that idea for the heel turn for Shotzi, but, I mean, she did a damn good job tonight. And I'm like, okay,
well, if the fans aren't gonna sit here and erupt with cheers for her, and you got her coming out with a tank and she's shooting off, who knows? You could have her shoot off T-shirts, Nerf ball, whatever the fuck. She's shooting shit out of this tank. For kids, honestly, that will be a babyface thing. But if she's not being erupted with cheers, then fuck, you might as well turn to a heel then.
Yeah,
why not?
It's almost like Bayley when she took the axe to the inflatables. I mean, maybe next week she just blows the damn tank up in front of everyone.
Backstage, we ended up getting Kayla Braxton, who was interviewing Jeff Hardy, and this interview barely started. And Hardy was kind of just talking about it. He was looking forward to a fresh start.
That's a Jeff Hardy trend lately with the interviews.
Yeah, so he's looking for a fresh start being over in SmackDown. He got interrupted by both Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss, who have their tag team Trick or Street fight with Nakamura and Rick Boogs later on in the show. They interrupted, made some really corny ass jokes, and boy, they did a
really
good job of with the Corbin thing. Boy, did they find a way to give him go home heat with this gimmick too. Yeah, they had something good. I wish he was just still the bum ass Corbin.
Yes, that was golden. I mean, if anything, you were going to make him a baby face because people were going to start cheering for the guy. And now you go this route. Nobody wants to see this. No. Nobody.
We end up getting a recap that they show with Brock Lesnar and the suspension, the $1 million fine.
Oh, wow.
They've got. So we knew it was coming, right? You have to find an excuse. People have kind of called him out for the predictability, but you need an excuse to get Brock off TV.
Why don't you say, we released him? Even though you still have him under contract, just go out and say that. I mean...
They end up showing that package, and then they show WWE official Adam Pearce appearing on a video from his home. as Paul Heyman was shown watching on the screen backstage. Pierce, he called Brock Lesnar, said he called him earlier that day and confirmed that he had been fined the $1 million. Heyman got shown again as Braxton approached him to talk about the fine.
Yeah.
And asked about how Lesnar would respond to the fine. Heyman said that Brock would turn up at the WWE offices and cause havoc. Heyman then started to get passionate about Brock and then calmed himself down. Paul said that he hasn't spoken to Brock and wants Kayla to leave him alone. So even though he's not in the position of being Brock's advocate right now, he's speaking from experience in terms of what he expects. So that's what they're trying to do there. Drew McIntyre, he made his entrance and issued an open challenge once again. Got on the mic, said that he was ready to kick somebody's ass. Issued it, and that's when we got Mustafa Ali, who came out and accepted it. Ali said that Drew is big and bad, but he's better. This is a pretty quick match. Drew used the Kimura lock to defeat Ali, and this is a new move for Drew.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's whipping that one out.
Yeah. So
while Brock's away, huh?
Yeah, the win made Drew, of course, it kept him strong. And then after the match, Mustafa Ali, he wanted to get something off his chest. He grabbed the mic. He questioned the WWE Universe's cheering for Drew and booing for him, and said that the only reason they chose to boo him is because his name is Mustafa Ali. So we've got Ali now playing the race angle.
Yes.
And the company was getting some shit on social media because of this, because it's tacky.
And it's 2004.
Absolutely.
That's
Muhammad Hussein.
That's what
and that was a great heel gimmick.
Yes.
And look, foreign heels have always worked in pro wrestling. It just always has. They've used it to draw money over the years. But we knew that came to an end back in 2004, 2005 with a great gimmick with Muhammad Hussein, who you put over on big stars. He was one of your true heels that you had on the roster with Daivari, and the network at that time, UPN, had an issue, and it was bad timing, but they got rid of that gimmick. And I'm thinking, okay, that's going to be the end of that. Well, it seems like that's the direction they want to go in with Ali.
Yes.
And a lot of people went on social media and just talked about how tacky that was. How did we even get to this point? What did Ali do to deserve this? This was a guy that you were just going to put in an elimination chamber match a couple of years ago.
Well, and they told the story, too, of him being a former
Chicago cop.
And great story, great guy,
Great entrance. He came out. He was over.
Yeah, and now
we give him Retribution, and we give him this. We've got him losing to Mansoor.
Yeah.
And so that's where they're going with Mustafa Ali right now. They showed a recap. Xavier Woods winning the King of the Ring and also the coronation from last week. Backstage, it's Woods and Kofi. They're walking through the backstage area, and then they bump in the Hit Row. Woods gave praise to them, gave them props. Hit Row, they bowed to King Xavier Woods and said they are not worthy. They did a Wayne's World spot. It wasn't your tip. I mean, it was a little cheesy. All these backstage segments are, but I thought they pulled it off very well. Kofi then asked Hit Row to sing out a tune for King Woods, and that's when they cut out of that. We showed a vignette showing, hyping the arrival of Xia Li for SmackDown.
Yep, another one.
And then King Woods and Kofi, they made their way to the ring as Kofi is due to be knighted. Kofi was able to get the WWE Universe to chant Hail King Woods. So far, the crowd is behind this until he starts doing a little heelish shit that I'm expecting here soon.
I think it is. I think tonight, too, was a little bit of get
that.
in there.
People bowing to him, yes. Woods ended up knighting Kofi in the ring, dubbed him Sir Kofi Kingston, and the WWE Universe got behind this. They start chanting Sir Kofi. And then the fans are, they're getting into this. And then the Usos come down to the ring. The Usos, they told both Woods and Kofi that a lot has changed since they've been away from SmackDown. And now it is about the Bloodline. It is the Bloodline show. King Woods, he then challenged the Usos to a trial of combat, which the Usos proudly and gladly accepted. They began the brawl before the Usos escaped the ring and looking to renew that rivalry.
Yeah.
So you got a tag match, and that was the main event of your SmackDown.
Yep, they haven't gone at it for a while, so I'm like, well, when they got drafted over there, it was a natural rivalry. I didn't know they were going to throw them at them right away, but here we go.
Yeah. After that, speaking of New Day, something that's kind of related to them, even though the third member is no longer on the SmackDown show, we got a recap of the new era of Monday Night Raw, as they wanted to put it. That got shown from this past week, showing Seth Rollins earning him a shot at Big E.
Do you think this would have aired on Fox regular channel? When I saw that Raw recap, I was very surprised.
I guess I haven't really paid attention before to Raw recaps on SmackDown.
They really don't show them.
Okay.
And remember, the USA got pissed that SmackDown was getting the Hell in the Cell match, championship match. So then they had to have one the next night on their Raw. So I was very surprised that they showed this back now. And I think the only reason why they were okay with it is because it was on FS1. Where if this was on Fox, I don't think this shit would have ran at all. Because this was a pretty damn long segment.
It was. It really was. It showed Rollins earning himself a shot at the Universal title at Big E, winning that fatal four-way ladder match. IC title, tag team match, the trick or street fight of Nakamura and Boogs versus Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss. We had a bunch of Halloween gimmicks. We had pumpkins, skeletons, all that shit. Midway through the match, 24/7 champion Reggie, he runs into the ring. Got chased off by the 24/7 scrubs. He was able to manage to once again escape.
Yeah.
All the gimmicks then started to come into play, and we got the almighty kendo sticks involved in this match. Near the end of the match, we get two people disguised as ghouls that hit Rick Boogs with kendo sticks. That cost the team the match, and they revealed themselves to be Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. Corbin and Madcap Moss, those are your winners of the match. Your take on this?
This was just, again, Vince's obsession with food, breaking items and all that, and all the pumpkins. And again, when Boogs went to go hit them with a ghost decoration, I just about turned the damn thing off. I'm like, you got to be shitting me.
Backstage, we got Sonya Deville. She was asked about Naomi's match coming up. And then Sami Zayn interrupted, but he got cut off by WWE producers during his plea to Sonya. So we end up Naomi versus Shayna Baszler before the match begun. Sonya, she came down to the ring and claimed that the referee set to be featured in this match was injured by Brock Lesnar last week. So she decided that she was going to be the referee instead.
And McAfee had a great line too. He's like, I think it was after the match, but he said, "That's worse referee than Walt Anderson." So back to his NFL days, he's shouting out refs that he used to not get along with.
Yeah. The match was pretty quick. Sonya counted the 1, 2, 3 quickly.
Yes, maybe.
And Naomi got in Sonya Deville's face after the match, but then Shayna Baszler applied the submission, the clutch submission hold, and that put Naomi unconscious. So Baszler is your winner with a quick 3 count. Backstage, we got Woods and Kofi. They're talking in Gorilla ahead of their match with the Usos. King Woods declares they are about to give out their first royal ass whooping.
Okay.
Also backstage, we got Naomi, who's angry. She said she's going to be taking on Sonya and also Shayna Baszler again, so that ain't over.
Okay.
We got our main event match, King Woods, Sir Kofi Kingston versus the SmackDown Tag Team Champs, the Usos. This is a non-title match, by the way, but as you'd expect, it was a really good match. These two teams, they have unbelievable chemistry, and I'll tell you, their Hell in a Cell match from several years ago does not get talked about enough.
No.
It was a great one of the best tag.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't give a damn what Meltzer and some of these other. You got to give WWE their credit too when it's deserved, and that is a tag team match that from beginning to end it was great. Great use of the structure.
Yes.
You had two great teams. Two teams that could pull off a lot of this shit, just like what we gloat about with some of the indies, some of the AEW wrestlers that do a lot of the high spots and the flips and the.
Well, the kendo stick spot, I'll never forget that. I'm like, that's the first time I ever saw that where they pinned them against it and they used it. I'm like, that's genius.
It's genius.
Yes.
Absolutely unbelievable. So we got King Woods who rolled up Jimmy Uso to secure the win over the tag team champs. King Woods then put on his crown in the middle of the ring after the match, but looks like we're going to be seeing another match between these two clearly down the line.
Yes.
That's your tag team angle right there for SmackDown. And this is, kind of fresh. I don't know, if they're really playing up the King of the Ring stuff with Woods. They're now even calling Kofi Kingston Sir. So I don't know if this is going to be kind of like something where maybe King Woods will strip Kingston of his knighthood, or
yes.
So I'm curious as to where this goes. But that was your SmackDown for October 29th. Your thoughts on the show for FS1?
Where it was, FS1, I thought it was, decent. Obviously, some of the shit like the street fight was terrible, but the Shotzi, Sasha, Charlotte thing, I like that. And, of course, at the end with the tag team match, too, like that as well. Roman get a little time off, I think, because, they just showed a package of him, right, if I'm correct in this show. So, that was good use of it. He was, they're not on main Fox. Have him get a little time off, a little R&R. That's good.
On to AEW news for the week. Not a lot of big-time headlines, but one that we've been wanting an update about. It was the AEW Impact Wrestling agreement. It appears, PJ, that working relationship between the two companies technically, as of right now, is over.
Not surprised.
AEW's forbidding door to Impact. I can't believe it's been almost a year. They did that angle with Omega winning that title. That was December.
That's right, the loaded microphone, yes.
Yes, that was in December, and that was around when Kenny started appearing on Impact TV. Mm-hmm. But as previously reported, the relationship, it ended last Saturday, the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. That's according to Ringside News. That was the Bound for Glory. Christian Cage was in that main event with the AEW title. Mm-hmm. He ended up dropping that to Josh Alexander, who immediately lost it to Moose,
yes.
who it should be on, to be fair. And it gives Josh Alexander, he's the chaser now, and Moose who ended up cutting a scathing promo on both promotions, WWE
did he
and
really?
AEW.
I'll have to watch that.
Yes, but Moose was able to cash in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet opportunity. So as of right now, what's being reported, there will be no rematch for Cage. He served his purpose. He was there to drop the belt. And there's no talk of anyone in AEW challenging Moose. So, as they shouldn't.
Or the Good Brothers.
Let Moose deal with the Impact wrestlers. We never, him and Rich Swann, I would imagine. You get some, some work out of those two. In terms of Impact, a source there noted to the Wrestling Observer newsletter that the original report might not be 100% accurate, as Cage was dropping the world title for Bound for Glory. In terms of it being the end of the story that began last December, they're hopeful. It sounds like they'll be able to. It said the plan. I guess that this was the plan back in the spring.
Okay,
that this was where they wanted to go. But they said the door is open for the two companies to do more business together. Should they? It didn't really move the needle. Didn't really do much for Impact Wrestling. As of right now, nothing short term is being planned. Cage, he didn't work this week's Impact TV tapings in Vegas either, so they stuck around. They did some tapings there. The Good Brothers, they haven't been on AEW TV for about the last several weeks. Now, as far as Don Callis, the Wrestling Observer newsletter is noting that he is, though, still under contract with AEW and should be back soon as Kenny Omega's manager.
Yeah,
he should be, because you got to get Omega from you got to get him away from the elite. If he's going to be the world champ, he needs to be separate and he needs to be highlighted as a world champ. There's just too much going on in AEW right now that pushes him down the rung of the ladder, I feel. Yeah,
and with the whole relationship thing, Sammy Guevara, just ask him about it, and that tells me everything I need to know, that guys weren't as open as maybe was reported to working with one another promotion. There's a reason why they signed with one over the other. If they wanted to work with that, they would have signed with them.
Looks like Matt Hardy's been teasing a reuniting with Bray Wyatt, who his non-compete clause with WWE came to an end this week. Yep. Yeah, and it is. He's changed his handle on social media. It looks like he will be using the Wyndham name of some sort, whether it be a combination with his family name, or I don't know what the legalities of what he can and what he can't, but it sounds like Wyndham will be in that name. But it looks like it might be a possible return to action for him soon. And it looks like he's getting some shout-outs from his former tag team partner, Matt Hardy, who added some fuel to the fire, teasing the possibility of reuniting with Wyatt or Wyndham Rotunda. He went on Instagram, shared some images of his time alongside Wyatt when they were in WWE together as tag team champs. He said, quote, "It's almost time to delete the dastardly no compete." Clearly hinting they might be, maybe getting together soon. Or maybe it was just a shout-out of support.
I hope it was just a shout-out of support, because if you've seen the creative Matt Hardy's been in the last 4 months, no, I'd say no to that.
Yeah. Don't really want to get too deep into that, because we really don't know what we don't really know what he's thinking right now in terms of where he wants to sign.
Yeah.
So, okay, AEW Rampage. It's in Boston.
Okay, the taping. Okay,
yes,
after the Dynamite.
So,
okay.
We're giving the Rampage review. We're going to run it down. We had a 4-man booth for this Rampage. We had Excalibur joined by Chris Jericho, Ricky Starks, and Taz. They were promoting this as another big night and promoting the Bryan Danielson-Eddie Kingston match. This is a part of the Tournament Eliminator, or the Eliminator Tournament. This is a match they started to tease on Dynamite earlier in the week. These are guys who are familiar with their time on the indie scene together, coming in and going. And they also put on this card, Britt Baker versus Abaddon in a street fight. And your third match, Dante Martin versus Matt Sydal, Part 3.
Yes.
So what this show has going for it is that it's 1 hour.
Very much so. Yes.
So that works in their favor, I feel. The opening sequence, we get that World Title Eliminator Tournament semifinals matchup, Bryan Danielson versus Eddie Kingston, as they should have. You've already promoted it was going to be on Rampage.
But here's the, what I was going to say, we talk about that, but here's the problem of this show. And it's always the opening match, because I already knew this was going 20 minutes. I didn't have to watch this whole damn thing. So I was watching some of the rewatch of the SmackDown on FS1, because they restarted the rerun, because I missed some of the first hours. So that's when I saw all the Charlotte stuff going on, and I'm like, this is a little more interesting than this. I was back and forth, but I was a little more intrigued of what was going on the replay of FS1, knowing that this is going to be a 20-minute match like all the opening matches are on Rampage.
There you go. So PJ admitting he did not watch every single second of Rampage, but I did. So I'm going to fill you in, sir. We got this match going. Kingston driving up against the ropes, firing off with some hard chops. This was chops galore in this match. The end of the match, dude, Bryan Danielson's chest was just, good Lord. Bunch of chops. And Kingston eventually, he needed a breather on the floor. He came back in, blocked a single leg. Instead, Danielson was able to get him into a corner for some more hard chops and a running knee to the ribs. Eventually, Danielson, he staggered around, chest very red. Kingston was able to pull him down into a chin lock, got some more chops. This was just all about chops. We ended up taking a break. Yep. We came back to more chops. Then we got some more action. Danielson, there was almost a count out. Kingston gave him some suplexes, and eventually there were some suplexes. He was going to go for a top rope suplex, but that got broken up with a headbutt by Danielson. And Danielson eventually was able to crotch him on top, hit the belly-to-back superplex. That put them both down, and we got some kicks in. Kingston rocking, big kick to the head. That put him down again. Danielson then went for the arm. Kingston was smart enough to slip out of that, set up the back fist to the head. They're both down for the count. Fans giving them a standing ovation, so at least the fans were into this. Kingston tried to go to pick him up. He got pulled into a triangle choke, and Bryan Danielson, after about 16 minutes and 24 seconds, he was able to elbow away, and Kingston flipped him off.
Yes.
And passed out. So there you go. I didn't think this was a A-plus type match by any means, but it was what I assumed this match would be. Solid back and forth. It's a tournament match, semifinals. Two guys the crowd likes. It should be good.
It should be good, but here's the problem. Eddie Kingston, they put him in the big matches, but you always know he's going to lose. They did it right away in his debut against Cody Rhodes with the TNT title thing. And that, and he did the promo.
He lost
was
John
fantastic.
Moxley.
He lost to Moxley.
They hot shot him for the AEW title.
Yes, yep. And then Rusev or Miro, that thing, they had him lose. They got to get Eddie some wins. That's the thing. And I'm not saying they were going to put him over Bryan Danielson, but I'm just like, they got to start getting this guy some wins, because this is, you kind of knew heading in.
It seems like his wins comes when he's tag teaming with Moxley,
yes,
or tag
or
teaming
doing the
with
triple.
someone.
Yeah, him and Darby, doing the trio stuff, and that's the only way he can win a match. And it's like, no, I know this guy can win a singles match. Now let's give him his credit, his due.
Yeah.
And I mean, with Danielson, yeah, you expected him to win this match and advance into this tournament.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's going to be the guy that faces Omega at the pay-per-view or what, because, again, this whole tournament thing is kind of throwing everything off, with also the Hangman Page stuff going on out there. But I would have to assume he's the favorite.
Yeah. Post-match, after the match, Danielson, he offered a handshake. Kingston walked off.
Mm-hmm.
We go backstage, CM Punk. He's in the middle of an interview. He's talking about the good week that he's having, but then he gets interrupted by Eddie Kingston.
Yes.
So they brought some officials, some people, some other wrestlers to break it up. Punk offered to put Kingston to sleep again after Bryan Danielson just did. So it seems like that's where we're going next for Punk, is Eddie Kingston. Again, another match that Kingston probably will not be winning.
Yeah, so again, the booking of Kingston. Punk, too, using a Shivani line at the end of the interview. Are we out of time?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're out of time.
So we're out of time. Okay. So, yes, Punk again making the use of his minutes. They always say make the use of your minutes on TV, and Punk always gets either verbally or in the ring. He just makes it 100% all the time.
Our middle match, second match of the 3 for the night on Rampage. We get Matt Sydal versus Dante Martin. This is part 3 of a trilogy. Leo Rush, he is on the behalf of Dante Martin for this one. They end up staring each other down to start. Took their time. Commentary, they're thinking they're off to a classic. This got some high spots. Martin sent him outside. Sydal, that is, hit a middle rope moonsault that dropped Sydal down. Got a break in, came back from the break. We see Sydal kicking at the legs to slow Martin down, but Martin was able to go after Sydal's knee that they've been playing up. Sydal, he went up. He got shoved off the top, only to avoid Martin coming off the top. The lightning spiral that got blocked, and Martin was able to hit the double springboard moonsault press for a pin. This match went about 11 minute. So,
all right. Yep.
Okay, this is a match you were not interested in.
No, not really. I don't know what it is.
Leo Rush. Okay.
Dante, I like him. He's a good baby face, but nothing against Matt Sydal, but they really put him in bigger spots than I think they need to put him in. I don't know why they think he is bigger than they think he is. That's what I think, is they think he is a bigger star. If you're not a watcher of wrestling, they think you might tune in for him. I'm sorry, you're not. And that's kind of the problem I have. Now with Dante, you see this young guy and he's flying around. Yeah, I'd like to see more of him. He's a pretty good baby face. This Leo thing doesn't make any sense at all with him hanging out with him, but that's where I am with this. It's just, I hope it's over with this trilogy.
We ended up getting the best part of the show after.
Yes, we did. You
know me. You know what my favorite part of Rampage is.
Yes.
It's seeing the world's strongest man, Mark Henry, backstage in a 3-way split screen.
And an all-time reaction in this one.
With your 2 parties who are going to be competing in the main event.
Yes.
And this was the match. This was a non-title anything goes, with Abaddon being able to get a title shot if she won against Britt Baker. We got Abaddon on one side. We got Baker on the other. We've got Baker's goons. They're dressed up. Jamie Hayter and Rebel, they're zombies.
Yes.
And we've got Henry getting word from Baker. And then we go to Abaddon.
Oh, no. First, we started out with Abaddon.
We started off with Abaddon. Abaddon starts spewing out blood.
Yes.
And they immediately did this cheesy cutback to Mark Henry, who no-sold it just with the Baker, which was the best part.
Yes. He's like, well, I guess Abaddon didn't have a comment. Well, she's spitting out blood.
Baker says her stuff, and then Abaddon just disappeared.
Yep.
She just
we don't know where she is.
So it's time for the main event.
That was an all-time. I mean,
It
just
was
all of
money.
a sudden you saw
I
the.
thought it was money.
Yes.
We start this match off. Baker, she immediately bails out to the floor in a hurry. She came across as the true chicken shit scared heel in this match.
Yes.
She's, we get out to the ring. She finally says, whoa, fuck, what did I sign up for?
Yep.
And they made a special emphasis to put that record for Abaddon on the screen. I did not know she was 16-1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who was the one?
We took an early break. Now, before the break, we end up seeing Rebel and Hater. They're grabbing a table. Then we get that break in. We come back from the break. We see Abaddon putting a chair on Baker. Hits a running back splash. Then Baker sent Abaddon face first to a chair in the corner. They head up to the apron. Swinging net breaker that sent them both through the table. Not through the table.
Yeah.
Suplex that put Abaddon through it early either.
Now again, the table didn't break for anyone.
No. This was
rough.
it was like onto the table. Table didn't break. Anyways, Abaddon, she does the zombie sit up and then she grabs a bag and we knew it was coming then. She poured it out. It was thumbtacks. Baker starts panicking. She attempts to do a rock bottom. Abaddon reverses. They're going back and forth. It's a tug of war on who's got the strength. Eventually, rock bottom onto the tacks.
Yes.
That gives Abaddon 2. Baker pelts a chair to the head. Baker then wrapped the chair around Abaddon's neck for a running stomp. But then Abaddon got right back up.
Yes.
No soul.
Yeah.
Then Baker put tacks. This was the part where I said, look, I'm cool with this match, but this spot was just unnecessary.
I think this is going to get him in trouble with the network again.
I don't know.
I think it is.
You got to remember, this is recorded.
Exactly. How the hell did this make air? That's my point.
Well, the spot that we're referring to, Baker ended up putting some thumbtacks in Abaddon's mouth and then gave her, maybe with homage to Adam Cole, gave her a super kick right to the face.
Yes.
And then we see all these thumbtacks spewing out of Abaddon's mouth.
She probably swallowed a couple.
Probably. And that set up the lockjaw. Abaddon bit her way to freedom. And then we see Jamie Hayter coming in to deck Abaddon. That didn't work. So Abaddon then grabs Rebel. That allowed Rebel or Baker. This is a hardcore match.
Yes.
Through all of that,
Yes.
Baker wins this match with a roll-up.
That's not. And Brett,
So I thought it was unfortunate because I would
was.
actually like
It
to
was.
see these two face each other again. So to me, why have the non-title match with the stipulation that she can't have a title shot unless she wins? But we went ahead and we just killed her dead in her tracks and beat her in the non-title.
Well, and they killed her off on the broadcast too, because at the end they're saying, well, Tay Conte now is the number one contender, is going to face Britt Baker at Full Gear. I mean, whoa, guys, don't you give a little credit to Abaddon here. She, took all this beating and this punishment and all that. You would think they would build up and have another match, and they just wrote her off. It was only for the Halloween show. Abaddon, go back to dark and run off 16 more and come back up when you're 33-1. I don't know, but that was just
or 33-2
strange.
because that was her second loss.
Yep, now she's got her second loss.
See you next year.
But the other thing, too, is, Britt beat the hell out of her with all these moves, and the roll-up is what we go with. I'm like, give Britt, if she's going to get the win, the stomping her head in the chair, that was a hell of a move. Just, she had some pretty high-impact moves to win that match. In the roll-up, like you said, not good.
There you go. Your AEW Rampage review for October 29th. Slade?
PJ?
We are the Bush League Mud Show. We're going to bounce out of here. Episode 26 in the books. Be sure to like and subscribe. Your favorite podcast, wherever you listen to those. And social media. Hit us up. Follow us. Promise we'll follow back at Bush League MS Pod. We'll talk to you next week.